Hi, and welcome to American Cowboy Coffee Reality Pro Rodeo, presented by Copper Spring Ranch.
I'm Will Rasmussen. In our first two episodes, we introduced to you three competitors of the rodeo world and a family of rodeo livestock owned by Sankey Rodeo Company. This week, we are in beautiful, scenic, historic Sheridan, Wyoming, home of the WYO Rodeo. Why is the WYO Rodeo so unique? Well, not only is it a first-class pro rodeo, but it is the home of the world champion Indian relay races.
The Sheridan WYO Rodeo wanted to integrate some of the history of this area originally. So they invited the Native Americans, and the world champion Indian relay races has become one of the biggest attractions of the Sheridan WYO Rodeo.
The World Champion Indian Relay Race. That is a unique event that you won't see anywhere else, and it is probably the event that folks just love to see. We have 4 heats per night, 4 races. It's great. We have a great pro rodeo. We're now on the silver $1 million tour with the PRCA, so we're a major stop for the top cowboys and cowgirls that travel across the United States and Canada. So we attract top cowboys, top cowgirls, top contract personnel like Ike Sankey, great stock contractor who's been here for years, great pickup men like Billy Ward, Bobby Marriott, announcer Will Rasmussen. So we put a top line product out there, and thank goodness we attract a lot of people to come and watch this rodeo.
Cowboys like J.R. Vizane and Ryan Jarrett, they research their opponent. And I'm talking about the rodeo livestock, like a boxer studies his opponent. The rodeo livestock is drawn for them, so they research all they can. It's out of their hands. Some of the degree of success is solely dependent on the livestock that is drawn for them.
What many people don't realize or take for granted is that it takes all day to prepare for an evening of professional rodeo, from production meetings, parking attendants, ticket takers, working the ground so it's just perfect and without dust is so critical. All of the rodeo livestock that the contestants compete with is drawn for prior to each rodeo. The competitors check to see what animals they will be competing with. When we come back, we'll check in with one of our featured cowboys, young J.R. Vizane of Wyoming, on American Cowboy Coffee Reality Pro. Welcome back to American Cowboy Coffee Reality Pro Rodeo. Zane Garstead is president of the WYO Rodeo, representing a group of guys and gals who put on this unique, one-of-a-kind show.
This rodeo has been going on now 81 years, and our historian Tom Ringley, I'm sure will tell you more about that, but it was basically developed to bring economic development to our community, and it's still going strong after 81 years. It's the event in our town. Everyone gets involved in one way or another, and so it's just not for the rodeo folks. It's for everybody here, and hopefully lots of people that come from out of town.
Let's catch up now with young J.R. Vizane, one of our featured performers here on American Cowboy Coffee Reality Pro Rodeo, as he prepares for his 8-second performance.
Sheridan, Wyoming at the WYO. First year I've been here. They drew me out here last year. I live right over on the other side of the mountain, so it's pretty close to home. Maybe one of a home rodeo, I guess you could call it. I got 067T. Nice little horse. I asked my traveling partner Kelly Timmerman about her, and he said he won Spanish Fork on her a couple years ago. Maybe take a little scoot, and then is outstanding. So hopefully we can combine for big scores. He's got Chucker, which should be good. But there is a lot of good horse out tonight. Dave had Exotic Trail, and Chris Timmerman has Neurotic, and it's going to be a good night. So should be big scores all the way across the board. Hopefully I'm number 1, but can't guarantee it.
Let's see how JR did on the horse he talked about. He's up in the first of 4 nights of the Sheridan WYO Rodeo.
A Wyoming big rider all around town. Outstanding national high school champion, JR! Yes! Oh, the young man
We will see how his score holds up.
A good 81-point effort by our man J.R. Vizane, currently second when he leaves the WYO, with 3 more nights to go.
We were a little worried about Mr. T taking a scoot, but he broke out of there pretty good. Was actually outstanding, felt really good. One of them fun horses to get on. Kind of had some moves and some tricks to him. I always strive to mark him out. I felt like I had a good, strong start and a good mark out. Felt like my free arm was in good position. The only thing was he kind of had some moves and threw his neck back, and I might have spurred over a little bit, meaning I missed the neck one jump. But other than that, I think I rode good for what I had, and the horse was good. There's some good hands out, good horses. Sankey's got good horses. There'll be some buckers out the next couple nights. It's always tough being up the first perf too. They might get a little loose with the scores, but 81's a pretty good score, so hopefully it'll hold in for a check. We'll see, but shoot, if not, it wasn't meant to be. If so, we'll give all the glory to God. So we'll see. Hopefully it'll hold in for a check.
JR's score doesn't put him in the top 2. After the week's end, Caleb Bennett of Utah rides Broadway for 85 points and a second-place finish. 3-time world champion Will Lowe of Canyon, Texas wins the WYO, riding the award-winning Gus from Sankey Rodeo Company for 87 points. Here are the results of the WYO bareback riding. The steer roping, one of the oldest events in all of rodeo, a true ranching rodeo original contest. In 4th place, Ora Taton of South Dakota, 60.2 on 4 runs. In 3rd, the great Trevor Brazil from Texas, the world champion, with a 59.7 on 4 runs. Arizona's NFR qualifier Chance Kelton 2nd with a 59.3 on 4. And in 1st from Texas, Will Gasperson, 59 seconds flat on 4. After 4 rounds of competition, here are the final results of the steer roping competition. The best team ropers in the world come to Sheridan's WYO Rodeo for a 2-head competition. Let's get right to the results. 5th place, Coleman Proctor and Caleb Twisselman with 12 seconds flat on 2 runs. In 4th place, the team of Colby Lovell and Bobby Harris with 11.2 on 2. 3rd place, Jojo Lamond and Marty Becker with 11 flat. The team of Eric Rogers and Corey Kuntz 2nd with 10.7 on 2 runs. The title of the WYO Rodeo goes to 2-time world champion Matt Sherwood and the great Corey Petzgon the Healing End with 9.8 on 2. That's how the team roping shapes up. Don't go away. More American Cowboy Coffee Reality Pro Rodeo presented by Copper Spring Ranch coming right up. Welcome back to American Cowboy Coffee Reality Pro Rodeo. One of the unique factors about rodeo, as compared to other professional sports, is that the tradition is family and how rodeo gets in one's blood. Not only on a human level, but the success of a rodeo stock contracting firm is directly related to the performance of the rodeo livestock. And that natural instinct to buck is apparent in the horses of the Sankey family. 3 of the featured horses on our show are Sudoku, Parlor Game, and Domino Theory. Why? Well, we find it interesting that all are sons and daughters of the great Dominoes, who was a horse featured at the National Finals Rodeo. All 3 of those horses have also been chosen to perform at the National Finals Rodeo. The bloodlines, the genetics, the instinct to buck are all apparent in these 3 stars of the arena. Here in Sheridan, let's watch Domino Theory and saddle bronc rider Jake Griffin of Wyoming, a National Finals Rodeo horse and a cowboy that is a Mountain State Circuit champion, combined for a respectable 75-point marking.
Watch this, the Canadian man.
In the saddle bronc riding, Sam Keltz, the Canadian, rides a Sankey bronc to 78 points. It tied him with Sterling Crawley from College Station, Texas, an engineering student at Texas A&M University, also marking 78 points.
That's how it's done. New Mexico. He's got one by the name of
Alex Wright from Utah, one of 7 Wright brothers, ties with 80 points.
Look at that saddle. Get out of there. Alex.
Tyler Corrington, a young star of the arena from Minnesota, ties for 3rd place with 80 points. It's Louis Brunson of South Dakota winning the Sheridan WYO Rodeo, marking 83 points on Sankey's Party Girl. As is tradition, the saddle bronc riding was absolutely tremendous at the Sheridan WYO Rodeo. 2 reasons why: the top-notch cowboys that this rodeo attracts, and the livestock of Sankey Rodeo Company. Who better to talk about rodeo livestock than the owner himself, Ike Sankey?
The app mare is Dominoes. Dominoes is 23 years old. Bay mare with the short tail is Hoedown. The other bay mare in front of Hoedown is Western Ranch Supply. Old gray mare is Prairie Chicken. All 4 of these mares have been to the National Finals Rodeo. They were all great mares in their careers, bucking horses. Dominoes is probably the best producing mare we've ever had. At the 2010 NFR, she had 2 colts at the finals. Right now, those mares, they're still raising colts. They don't get bucked anymore. They are just nursemaids to these other babies. We wean these colts and we grain them twice a day. They eat probably 6 pounds of grain a piece a day. We've been doing this for about 30 years, raising these colts this way, and our horses are as big as anybody's. Genetically, they're big to start with, but the fact that we feed them as good or better than their mothers can is proof that these horses are really taken care of very well. The app baby walking behind Dominoes is actually a grandbaby of hers. I see her colt back behind the bay mare that's behind her, so these mares will have different groups of colts that just stay with them. They'll mother up to those mares, and it's really interesting to me that her grandbaby is mothered up with her instead of one of the other mares. We'll worm these colts probably 5-6 times a year. Then we'll cut and brand the horse colts and brand the filly colts, and then we take them to flat top, and they're raised very, very natural, just like God intended them to be. What they do for a living, that's a natural instinct. There's no way that we can make these colts buck if they choose not to. Luckily, our genetics are so good that these colts want to buck, and our percentage rates will be 85% or so. We've been raising these bucking horses for, I'm going to say almost 30 years. We started in Kansas with just a little handful of mares. Probably the smartest decision I ever made that I didn't know I made at the time was I bought a stud at the National Finals sale from Harry Vold, which may have been one of the dumbest things Harry ever did, selling that horse. I'd saw that horse, his name was Custer. I'd saw the horse as a 3-year-old. I was entered in El Paso, Texas. I had the bucking horse of the year, Smokey, which was, this horse was a scary horse. This horse bucked really hard. Chris Ledoux had Custer and like to kill him. It was unbelievable how hard that horse bucked. And after seeing Chris live through that, I wasn't scared at all getting on that other horse. I thought there's no way he can buck as hard as that one did. And I think anyone that's been involved or knows anything about raising bucking horses would admit openly that Custer was the greatest sire of bucking horses that there ever has been, probably ever will be. One year at the NFR, I think he had over 20 head of colts at the NFR. We were fortunate enough to have quite a few stud colts that we'd kept by him. Hoedown would have been one of the last colts that Custer sired. Those 500s of that year were the last colts, and you'll find Custer breeding in almost every successful bucking horse breeding program there is in the nation now. So, you know, our influence on other breeding programs has been very successful for them, as well as we got a lot of good getting blood out of their programs. Wee Willie's the stud. He's been to the finals in the bareback riding. Anytime a horse goes to the National Finals Rodeo, somebody thought they were pretty good. Wee Willie went to the finals the only year that we ever hauled him. Studs are just a little hard to haul around at the rodeos we have. There's not that much room, and it's kind of hard to keep them separate. And so we buck those studs just enough to get them proven and know that they really have the tools that we think they need. So since the year we hauled him and he qualified to go to the NFR, I don't think I've probably bucked that horse maybe 10 times in the last 10 or 12 years. He's just at home, you know, maybe goes to one rodeo a year, maybe two, and we breed a set of mares with him every year. After they spend a year here, once they're branded, cut, they're turned out up there. They run up there probably 2 to 3 summers. After when those horses are 3s or 4s, then we go to bucking them. So they'll stay in Wyoming the first. They'll go up there as yearlings, and they'll stay up there until they're at least 3. Most of them 4-year-olds. There's several different pastures down there in Cody, so those horses rotate around. We'll trail 100 to 150 horses 20, 25 miles from one pasture to another. You know, there aren't very many people alive nowadays that have ever trailed 150 horses 25 miles. It's quite a sight to see, and part of America that is not going to be around forever, and not very many people have been fortunate enough to see that. We feel awful blessed to be able to be a part of it.
Rodeo livestock contractor Ike Sankey of Sankey Pro Rodeo. We'll be back with more American Cowboy Coffee Reality Pro Rodeo presented by Copper Spring Ranch right after this. Welcome back to American Cowboy Coffee Reality Pro Rodeo.
In the 1930s, I believe it was in 1933, the Crow Indian Nation and the Northern Cheyennes, they had been traditional enemies. But at one of the night shows in 1933, the Crow Indians and the Cheyennes signed a peace treaty. And they did it right here at the rodeo. In fact, there's a plaque out by the grandstand that commemorates that. And you know, that was a significant thing that two tribes came together and signed a peace treaty, or agreed to be peaceful, right here at the Sheridan WYO Rodeo, at one of the night shows at the Sheridan WYO Rodeo. We're pretty proud of that as well.
Tie-down roping brought the best of the best to the WYO. Tough Cooper of Texas, sitting number 1 in the world, finished with an 8.6 on his second calf, placing 8th on 2 with a 19.5. Older brother Clint Cooper tied him in the average with a 19.5 on 2 after his 10.3 run. Corey Solomon moved into a tie for 3rd after his 8.5 run. And the youngest of the Cooper brothers, Cliff, ties for 3rd in the average with a 10 flat run on his 2nd. Bo Brown moves into 2nd place after this 8.7 run, making him 18.7 in the average. Winning 1st place with 2 smooth runs, South Dakota's Paul David Tierney with an 18.3 on 2. The steer wrestling at the WYO was also a 2-head competition. Finished tied for 3rd, Wyatt Kinghorn with an 8.8 on 2. Also, Billy Buganig, 8.8 on 2. And finishing with an 8.3 on 2, Colorado's Ken Lewis, placing 2nd. The champion of the WYO steer wrestling was Olin Hannum of Idaho with 8.2 on 2 runs. The barrel racing was fast and furious. Morgan Figueroa finished 4th with a 17.28 on the cloverleaf pattern. Kim Schultz won 2nd and over $3,500 with her run of 17.21. And winning over $4,400 and first place, Letcher, South Dakota's Jill Moody with 17.20. The final event, bull riding, brought outstanding scores. Chandler Bounds of Arizona scores 86 points on Sankey's Quicksand for 4th place. Look at the air underneath this outstanding bull. And then a terrific save by the bullfighters Al Sandvold and Lloyd Ketchum. Alan Helmuth caught a ride on Thomas the Train and scores 87 points, making him tied for 2nd with Bobby Welsh of Wyoming, riding bull number 652 to a score of 87 as well. Winning the bull riding with a score of 90 points is L.J. Jenkins on Alejandro.
I'm J.R. Zane. Thank you for watching American Cowboy Coffee Reality Pro Rodeo.
I love Sheridan, Wyoming. That's how the Sheridan WYO Rodeo shapes up. A lot of great contestants, rides and runs. Be sure to tune in next week as we travel to Spanish Fork, Utah. We'll check in with our featured contestants and see what really goes on behind the scenes of a rodeo, and of course, show some great rodeo action. I'm Will Rasmussen. We'll see you next time on American Cowboy Coffee Reality Pro Rodeo, presented by Copper Spring Ranch.